Admittedly, I just saw this article being discussed by Jimmy Dore on his channel, and I wanted to talk about it because I find it fascinating. Uh, and it just, to me, it goes to the very question whether the FBI has any legit purpose whatsoever. You know, I'm sure there are individual agents who think they're doing the right thing and think they're serving justice and trying to catch the bad guys uh, by lawful means and all of that. I'm sure there's some would-be Elliot Nesses uh, in the organization. I'm not going to say it's all bad people, but my God, just the things I keep hearing about, the behavior of this organization. I mean, I my admiration, which was never that large, grows less and less significant. It gets whittled down more and more till now it's pretty much just contempt. Which is why I have my T-shirt that says "God hates feds." I that's a very strongly worded sentiment, but I wouldn't wear that shirt if I didn't feel like it expressed some truth. So there was this supposed plot among right-wing domestic terrorists. White people from the heartland are the new enemy. They've always been the enemy. It's white men in the heartland. They're the ones who are really, really, really the bad guys, who have been the bad guys all along. They were supposedly engaged in this plot to kidnap the awful governor of Michigan, Gretchen Whitmer, one of the most lockdown loving, tyrannical, and just awful of all of the governors that loved the lockdown and loved to implement draconian, unconstitutional edicts against those who are unfortunate enough to live in their state. So, yeah, I don't like the gal. I'm not saying I approve of a plot to kidnap her, but I don't like her. But anyway, let's just go on. That's neither here nor there. Let's look at this story. This is from the Intercept. I will leave a link. So, echoes of FBI entrapment haunt failed plot to kidnap Gretchen Whitmer, and the quote that's highlighted here. It becomes really dicey when there are nearly as many informants as there are defendants, a former federal prosecutor told The Intercept. Yeah, but unfortunately that's not uncommon. Now, I was going on a moment ago about how, it's just the white men from the heartland who you've got to fear. They're the real hearts of darkness. But just a few years ago, it was the Muslims they were doing this against. They would go to some mosque. They would find some hapless guy who probably didn't know how to tie his own shoes, but who maybe had an attitude against the American government, and they would have their guys come at him and say, "Hey, Ahmed, we've got this plot to blow up the George Washington Bridge. We can really strike a blow against the great Satan." And Ahmed gets carried along, and again, it comes out in the end that it was totally instigated by the agents, and it was an operation that they put into effect so that they could make arrests and so that they could say, "See how useful we are. We stopped this terrorist attack," when they were the ones who got the ball rolling on this whole thing in the first place. And I believe even the original attack on the World Trade Center had FBI involvement. There was an FBI informant, and they failed to put a warning out before the attacks happened. I'll have to bone up on that, but I'm pretty sure that's what happened there. But let's stick with this case. So, reading from the article from The Intercept here, it reads, in October 2020, the FBI and Justice Department announced the arrest of 6 Michigan militia members who call themselves the Wolverine Watchmen. The FBI claimed, Wolverines! You know, like in Red Dawn, the original Red Dawn. I don't know about the one that they made in like 2014, but the original one from the 80s. The FBI claimed that federal agents had thwarted an elaborate plot hatched by the men to kidnap Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer. Okay, blah, blah, blah. So they charged these men federally. 8 other members of the Wolverine Watchmen were arrested on state charges related to the plots. They made national news in part because a group of right-wing extremists plotting to kidnap a high-profile Democrat fit with the prevailing media narrative at the time that President Donald Trump was fomenting violence as is a part of their re-election campaign. Okay, well, and I guess they have some example there of Trump saying something like, "If you see one of these creeps, go punch him in the nose," or something like that. I don't know. So the announcement of the kidnapping plan even knocked a hurricane's landfall out of the top spot on CBS Evening News. Okay, here's where we get to the meat of the case, though. But the circumstances of the case and the megaphone the Justice Department used to publicize it were familiar. As with the prosecutions of more than 350 international terrorism defendants caught in post-9/11 FBI terrorism stings, in which agents or informants provide encouragement for weapons for criminal plots, questions of entrapment quickly emerged in the Wolverine Watchmen case. All right, so once again, you have these guys. You know, they're mad at the government. They're mad at the governor for good reason. I was mad too. I don't live in Michigan, thankfully. Not that Michigan's a bad place, but they have a bad governor right now who is doing bad things. So anyway, so they were mad. The FBI had informants. They knew that these guys were mad. They were members of a militia. That's already kind of edgy, you know. That's already what some of y'all would call LARPy, I guess. And so that they saw an opportunity to burnish their reputation. Say, hey, I know you think the FBI is just around to protect high profile child molesters from ever having to stand trial against their victims. But here we're going to prove to y'all that the FBI can actually do some good and not just evil. So we're going to concoct this case. We're going to what's the word? We're going to be agent provocateurs. I love that word. It just has a nice ring to it. Agent provocateurs, which means an agent provocateur is someone who gets you to do stuff that's illegal, who provokes you into behaving illegally, so that you can be arrested. So the FBI used at least a dozen informants and several undercover agents to build the case. So they had all these people, all these guys working for them who were pretending to be Michigan militia types, you know, going around with wearing Trump hats, you know, in disguise, wearing Trump hats, wearing their Ted Nugent T-shirts. I don't know, whatever the uniform is for these kinds of guys. You know, they sent them all in. One of the group's key members, known as Big Dan, was an FBI informant. Another, apparent explosive expert, whose role was critical to the alleged kidnapping plan, was in fact an FBI undercover agent. So this was something, again, this was not something. Well, let me read this quote here before continuing my editorializing. There's nothing wrong with using confidential sources to help facilitate or move along an investigation, but it becomes really dicey when, in a case like this one, there are nearly as many informants as there are defendants. Michael Sherwin, the former Deputy Attorney General, for the national security during the Trump administration, told The Intercept. That's a huge red flag, making you wonder if this is one of those cases that are manufactured to increase stats. Absolutely. That's exactly what it is. And I defy you to show me how it is otherwise. Again, all of these cases, I know I know the hip cool thing now is to say, white men from the heartland are the true violent terrorist types. But when it was after 9/11, which was likely not performed by 19 Arab hijackers with box cutters, but that's a different story entirely. But after that, when the profile of the terrorist was the Middle Eastern Muslim, then they came after, like I was saying earlier, they would come after someone who fit that profile and try to get a terrorist plot started and then foil it and then come across as the heroes. Like, we're so great. Look at us, FBI. We don't just protect, again, we don't just protect high-profile pedophiles from their victims. We don't just cover up heinous crimes against children. We also stop terrorist plots that we started in the first place. Yeah. Good job, guys. Oh, and we also, blow up buildings that people are in and, shoot women holding their children, shoot dogs, shoot 10-year-old boys. Hey, we're the FBI. That's what. Oh, I guess that was the ATF, wasn't it? Sorry, didn't mean to sully the FBI's good name with another awful Fed organization. Okay, anyway. So blah blah blah. The article goes on from there. Okay, so it talks a little bit more about Sherwin, a federal prosecutor. He was the prosecutor in the District of Columbia during the U.S. Capitol riot on July 26, 2021. January 26th. January 6th, 2021. Okay. So he actually says this here. January 6th was significant. Were there dangerous actors there? Yes. Were there just garden variety criminals who got arrested? Of course. But the thing I think people are losing sight of is that this is nothing new. Going back to Ruby Ridge, going back to Waco, going back to Oklahoma City, going back to the militia groups in Michigan and Arizona. This is something that has existed for decades. This, what's he talking about by this? I think it's like he's talking about quote unquote domestic terrorists, but the family at Ruby Ridge weren't domestic terrorists. The Branch Davidians in Waco were not domestic terrorists. Oklahoma City. Let's not even open that can of worms.